Yes, everything is visible.
Okay.
Now go ahead, please.
Okay. Good evening, all. First of all, I thank people manager and their team for organizing such a wonderful and practical as well as very fruitful industrial and workplace relations conference 2025. Thanks to Mr. Bir Singh Viji.
Welcome. And
Yeah.
everyone, please give a big round of applause to Sonevan Saab for giving his time to this conference and bringing you the right kind of strategy for the effective workplace.
Okay.
So thank you so much, everyone.
Since morning, in the morning yesterday, I had attended the session of Amit Malik ji, and then after that I could not. But since today morning, I am hearing Dr. Trivedi, then Mr. Shamil, then Dr. Naipal Singh, then Suresh Krish, and lastly Radha Singh ji. I think Radha Singh ji's session was very wonderful, very important, and very thought-provoking, and it is a real practical session was there. Thank you, Radhaji, for giving such a wonderful day. So now today is my role is to present you before the effective workplace investigation, that is domestic inquiry or arbitration. Right? I will give my small introduction. I am Balasaheb Sonone. Basically, I am graduate in BA, then master degree in personal management industry relations. I am also LLB. I completed diploma in training and development. I am alumni of I am Ahmedabad. I have 40 years industrial experience in various industries, that is Sweel, RSF, ISMT, Wipro, CCLG, and lastly I was with Built Big One. I am also a publisher of my own book, that is Audyogik Vishwatil Balasaheb, that is 40 years successful career, that is on my own. I am retired in the month of June 23 and started my own consultancy in the name of Forever 24 Consultant. My mobile number is there and this one. Basically, I have started my consultancy after retirement of 40 years because I thought I have 40 years experience. Why not I should share the experience to the needy people and needy my HR professionals, all these things. That's what I am in the field now. Okay.
That's why we invited you to this platform.
Okay.
And
Thank
now
you.
this is a
Thank you
good
for
collaboration with the people manager.
thank you for giving me this topic. Okay. And my basically my idea is to give you understanding about the effective workplace investigation and domestic inquiry procedures and all this thing, why it is important, right? Okay. The sequence of presentation would be define the scope and purpose, gather some relevant information, identify key witnesses, establish a timeline, then issue of charge sheet, public inquiry letter, conducting a domestic inquiry, follow mutual justice, follow natural justice, then draw conclusion, communicate to charge-sheeted workmen, management decision, and implementation of final disciplinary action. Why I am telling you, because when we are saying we have to take a disciplinary action and it should be taken fast, but as per law, it is not so easy. We have to follow the certain rules and regulations and the acts applicable to the industries. Basically, we have to follow the employment standing orders and its provisions also, and also natural justice. So we'll talk about something about misconduct in the workplace. The definition of indiscipline and misconduct. Definition of the indiscipline is, everybody will agree, failure to follow rules, regulations, and standards of behavior. Because when we are working in the industry, we always believe that unless and until there is a discipline, we cannot run the industry. And it's a very basic prerequisite for the industry to have a proper discipline. And it is the duty of HR or HR fraternity or the HR head to implement the proper discipline in the organization. When we are following the discipline, all these things, some indiscipline is going to be there, or some misconducts are going to be there. The definition of misconduct is behavioral that is unacceptable, unprofessional, or harmful to others. This is the definition of misconduct. What are the different types of indiscipline and misconduct? Generally, in industry, absenteeism is a common misconduct and tardiness. Insubordination and disrespect is also very common. Theft and dishonesty, this is also happening in many of the manufacturing industry. Bullying and harassment is also there. This one way of this posh is also again the harassment of the female employees, and this is also misconduct. and now it is also added in the by one employment standing out of that. Under POSH, what are the harassment to the female employees, that is also covered as the misconduct. Then substance abuse and addiction. These are few of there are so many there. I can tell you also, provided time permit, but we'll go slightly fast. Then causes of indiscipline and misconduct. Basically, as poor management and leadership, I will always say it depends on the leadership and management. What type of management you are there, what type of leadership you are working there, that is very important. Then lack of clear policies and procedures, that is also important. When you are when you are dealing with the discipline, you should know the policies of the companies as well as procedures of various acts and statutes, and you have to follow that. Inadequate training and development. Sometimes the training and development is also lacking. So that is also a problem. Unhappiness and dissatisfaction is also cause of misconduct. Say personal problem or some stress problem or different causes of indiscipline and misconduct there are there, and it also affects affects on the overall company performance. So we'll talk about some about the effects of indiscipline and misconduct. This is affecting the productivity, decreased productivity and efficiency, increased absenteeism and turnover, damage to the reputation and moral, financial losses and cost because of the misconduct committed by the workman while on duty, and legal liabilities and risks also is covered, because when something serious accidents happen or something misconduct happens seriously, then it is a legal liability and risk to the management and company also. So always we need to strategize for addressing the indiscipline and misconduct. For that, you have to develop clear policies and procedures. That is very important. Now, Madam was talking about these POSH policy and all these things. So it is very clear that we should have proper policies and procedures. Provide training and development opportunities to all employees working there. Improve management and leadership, that we talked about because it's very important. Encourage open communication and feedback. By that way, we can train the people, we can make aware the people. And lastly, if something goes wrong, we have to implement the disciplinary procedures. Unless and until we implement the disciplinary procedures, then things cannot be controlled sometimes. And that's the need of the organization there. Okay. In some of the companies, there are best practices for preventing indiscipline misconduct. They are also following. They are fostering a positive and respectful work culture. They are following. They recognize and reward the good behavior also of the people. They provide opportunities for growth and development, and they conduct regular performance evaluation and address the conflicts and issues promptly. This is also very important. If you have to follow the best practices, then you have to address the conflicts and issues promptly. Because the delaying in taking the decision, it also leads to the misconduct and indiscipline. So now we'll talk about what are the action to be taken, and we'll summarize at the end of my session. Okay. Whenever we go for the domestic investigation or domestic inquiry or the workplace investigation, I will slightly tell you about the step-by-step guide for the domestic and conduct inquiry. Basically, preparation is very important. You have to define the purpose and scope. You have to clearly outline the investigation objectives, including the specific incidents and allegations to be investigated. Then gather relevant information, identify key witnesses, that is very important. Establish a timeline, because as per law, there are various timelines and you have to also decide the timeline, otherwise the impact of the disciplinary actions will go. Then we have to start the investigation process, then conduct interviews or maintain objectivity, then gather some physical evidence, review policies and procedures, and analyze the analysis and findings is very important, because when you are analyzing carefully the review of the evidence collected, including witness statement, documents, and physical evidence. Why I am telling you? Because most of the time when we are going for the disciplinary actions, and when we collect the evidence or the report or the investigation data or something like that, we came to know that the reports which was generated at the first instance, it was very of casual nature, and it doesn't serve the purpose. It doesn't give the full clarity about the incidents, when it happened, how it happened, what has affected. That's why the analysis and finding is very important. And then you have to draw the conclusion based on the evidence, draw conclusions about what has happened and who was involved in that. determine the causation, identify the root cause of the incidents and any contributory factor there, then recommend corrective actions. You have to suggest actions to prevent similar incidents in the future and see that this will not happen. You have to also reporting and following document findings, compile a comprehensive report detailing the investigation findings, conclusions, and recommendations, communicate results, share the report with relevant stakeholders, including employees, supervisors, and HR, implement corrective action, ensure that the recommended actions are implemented and monitored for effectiveness, and again that you have to conduct the follow-up, schedule follow-up meetings or check-ins to ensure that the incidents has been fully addressed. The best practices also in that maintain confidentiality. This is very important. Protect the privacy of all individuals who are involved in the investigation because this also affect your whole inquiry procedure. Avoid conflicts and interest. Ensure that the investigator has no conflict of interest or bias. He should be a neutral person. Documents everything. Documentation I told you is very important. I will show you the formats of some of the documents also. Keep detailed records of all aspects of the investigation, provide support, offer support and resources to employees affected by the incidents. Then domestic inquiry, conduct a fair and impartial inquiry. When you are decided to conduct the inquiry, the inquiry should be inquiry will be conducted as a fair and impartial manner. Ensure that inquiry is conducted in fair and impartial manner. Follow established procedure. There is employment standing order is there. You have to adhere the established procedures and guidelines for conducting domestic inquiry. Provide opportunities for representation, allow employees to be represented by union or other support reasons, and maintain proper records. Keep detailed records of the inquiry, including witness statements and evidence presented. Because these are the few steps one must follow before starting the any investigation or domestic inquiry. So when we are following the domestic inquiry on investigation and all these things, and when we have to decide to take any action, I think these are the 15 steps are involved, or 15 steps are to be taken into confidence. Just I will say is the incident report first is very important. Then investigation report by the superior or his boss is important. Then after that we have to decide whether to give show cause notice, or if it is a simple nature of our first time, then we decide to give simple warning. Then if the mistakes is committed again, then we give stern warning. If he is not improving even by giving simple or stern warning, then we have to give charge sheet. And while giving the charge sheet, we have two options. One is giving the charge sheet and then decide the inquiry, or charge sheet along with the suspension letter. This is also procedure. When the matter is serious and we have to deal it seriously, then we generally companies issue suspension letter. After suspension letter, there is a notice of inquiry. Then inquiry proceeding format is there. Then that inquiry officer to conduct. After conducting the inquiry, then he has to prepare the inquiry report. Once we receive the inquiry report, then management has to give show cause notice along with the inquiry report to the concerned employees. Then the management note is important. Before taking or before proceeding for the final action, management note is important by taking all his past records and all these details. And after taking the management note only, then we can decide for final dismissal, termination, or any final action, or the actions available under the model standing orders. Yes. That one has to decide as per the seriousness of the misconduct. And there are certain misconducts also you might be because knowing what are types of misconduct under model standing order. I have some English and Marathi also. The if time permits, we can share it. Okay. Few more points I would like to cover. Can we investigate without receiving a complaint? My answer is no, because I have told you that there are 13, 14 steps. If we have to follow the proper procedure, then one must have a proper complaint and the investigation report. This is very important. This is a basic document. Or if a complainant requests that no further action to be taken, it is a management call at that time, depending upon the situation. Under what situation company is deciding to take action, and under what circumstances company is going to forgive him or company is going to give him charge. That is basically a management call, and it is decided at that time. Overview of the investigation report is when the incident happened, where it has happened, how it has happened, what does good investigation look like. All these things should come there. And sometimes you have to give the importance to a trauma informed approach also. It is again depending upon the situation, and managing the difficult or reluctant witnesses, that is also a major part, because while conducting the inquiry or any investigation, you have to see that who are the witnesses and how they are how they are difficult to manage. And again, preparing inquiry report and making finding is the job of inquiry officer, and he has to take care of. In importance of trauma-informed approach, generally, it prevents traumatization. A trauma-informed approach helps to prevent re-traumatization of the complainant by avoiding, triggering, or distressing the question. It creates a safe environment. A trauma-informed approach generally creates a safe and supportive environment for a complainant to share their experiences. It builds trust also. A trauma-informed approach helps to build trust between the complainant and the investigator, which is essential for a successful investigation. It also ensures accuracy. It also ensures accuracy and the reliability. It reduces anxiety and stress. And while doing that, it also reduces anxiety and stress for all parties involved in the investigation. That is why it's important. What are the key principles in trauma-informed approach? It is basically safety, trust, collaboration, empowerment, and the cultural sensitivity. These are the key principles one has to take into confidence or has to take into consideration while conducting these all investigation process. And when you are dealing with or managing the difficult or reluctant witnesses, those who have already gone through the process of the inquiry, and also those who are represented as a management committee, or those who have conducted the domestic inquiry through the inquiry officer, or those who participate as a witness, they might be knowing how difficult is to manage the reluctant witnesses, and that is very important. But it is the duty of the HR as well as the inquiry officer. What are the preparation or key? Is review the witness statement. One has to review the witness statement before the inquiry to identify potential areas of concern. Then prepare open-minded questions. One should be ready with open-minded questions. When you are working as a MR, then you have to prepare the open-ended questions to encourage the witness to provide detailed information. We have to gather the information from the witnesses. Then establish a positive relationship. You have to see that you are trying to give him justice by way of this, and hence you have to establish a positive relationship with the witness before the inquiry to build trust and rapport. How to build a rapport? Create a comfortable environment. Create a comfortable environment for the witness to testify. Use active listening skills. This is very important, because unless and until he listens, he will not participate or he will not support you. Use active listening skill to show that you are engaged and interested in what the witness has to say. Avoid confrontation. This is very important. Avoid confrontation or aggressive questioning, which can intimidate the witness. Then how to manage the reluctant witnesses? Establish the importance of their testimony. Explain to the witness why their testimony is important, how it can impact the outcome of inquiry. It is for his benefit also. So we have to tell them how it is important. Then provide reassurance. Provide him reassurance that their testimony will be kept confidential and that they will be protected from the retaliation. Use gentle persuasion. Use gentle persuasion to encourage the witnesses to provide proper investigation and timely information. Sometimes you have to remain calm and composed while getting this all information, and even if the witness becomes aggressive and confrontational, avoid taking it personally. You have to avoid that it is not personal. It is you are doing company's work, and he is also witness, or he is also employee who has committed certain misconduct, that you have to take it. Use firm but polite language. Because you have to gather some information, so you have to use polite language to refocus the witness and keep them on track. Additional some of the evidence, give a tea breaks in case need be tea break. In case you wanted to emphasize some of these importance, then show visual aids. And last is important is you have to document everything. This documentation is very important. Firstly, you have to have a documentation of the proper incident report, investigation report, all witnesses, everything is there. And again, while conducting the domestic inquiry or investigation, you have to document this, the same is properly. Hope I am giving you certain information. Everything is agreeing, or is that people are understanding? Any comment?
So your response on the chat box. Everyone, please.
Okay. Okay. No, I'm just taking the feedback. Okay. Otherwise,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking
we
here.
have to
So
cover this
response should be
topic.
come into the yes, please.
Yeah, we have to cover this topic within 15 minutes. Now it's already 23 minutes. So we have to see that. My next presentation will continue. Why the domestic inquiry is important? Because we have to establish the facts. We have to ensure fairness and justice. Then we have to prevent the misconduct happening in the organizations again and again, or to avoid the repetition. And again, to protect the employees and employers' benefit. An investigation can help protect employees from false accusation and employees from the unfounded claim. To maintain the workplace discipline, because initially I told you discipline is very important in any of the organization, and for maintaining the proper discipline, you have to have this domestic inquiry wherever needed. To comply with the laws and regulations, conducting a thorough investigation can help the organization to comply laws and regulations related to employment, labor, and human rights. Because this is also important when we are deciding to take any investigation or inquiry, we have to see that what are the laws applicable to your organization and what are the rules and regulations that you have to follow. And this way you can reduce the litigation risk if you are doing it proper, and then you will definitely reduce the litigation risk. Then improve workplace culture by way of conducting a proper inquiry, fair inquiry. Then you can also improve your workplace culture. Domestic inquiries and detailed investigation help to identify the underlying issues and improve workplace culture. Enhance credibility. It gives us enhance the credibility of the management also, because management is not doing any injustice or any illegal thing. And to ensure accountability, domestic inquiries and detailed investigation ensure that individuals are also held accountable for their action. So thus, by way of conducting domestic inquiry and detailed investigation, organizations can ensure that they are taking a fair, this is very important, they are taking a fair, thorough, and transparent approach to addressing workplace issues. These 2-3 words are very important. You have to see that you are fair, you are thorough, and you are conducting a transparent and you are taking the transparent approach. So these basic things are very important whenever you are going for the investigation process. When generally the domestic investigation or inquiry is conducted by the inquiry officer. So what are the key responsibilities of the inquiry officer? He has to conduct the inquiry as per law by gathering the evidence and interviewing the witnesses, various witnesses. He has to maintain neutrality. He must be neutral and impartial throughout the inquiry procedure. He has to ensure fairness. At the time of the inquiry, while he is conducting the inquiry, he has to see that the inquiry is conducted fairly and all parties involved are given the opportunity to present their case. This is also very important, and this is the basic key responsibility of the inquiry officer. Gathering evidence, the inquiry officer is responsible for gathering all relevant evidence, including documents, witness statements, and physical evidence. His interviewing skill of the interviewing witnesses, he has to see that because he is the inquiry officer, he knows the procedure, including the complainant, the respondents, and any other witnesses, and he has to collect the information by taking the interview. Then recording procedure, he has to record every day's inquiry proceeding as by following the proper procedures, including witness statement, evidence presented, or any other relevant information. Lastly, he has to analyze the evidence. The inquiry officer must analyze all the evidence gathered and presented during the inquiry and lastly, he has to reach to the finding. Based on the evidence analyzed, the inquiry officer must reach to the finding of the allegations made and prepare his report. That is, we call as the inquiry findings or inquiry report. He has to repeat the inquiry along with the findings, recommendations, and other relevant information. Based on the recommendations and findings only, management can decide whether to go for disciplinary action, strict disciplinary action, or whether to go for minor or some simple punishment. And then lastly, he submit the report to the company, to the designated authority or generally HR department or the management of the company. So these are the key responsibilities of the inquiry officer, very important. And accordingly, you have to choose the inquiry officer is selected who is having this key responsibility. But while these are the key responsibilities, but what are the qualities? Qualities of them. Qualities is basically again he should be impartial. He should conduct the fairness and have the fairness in the inquiry. He has to have a good communication skill while conducting the whole inquiry procedure, and analytical skills also is very important. He has to analyze the evidence gathered and he has to give the full attention to the detail, and he must be having all attention to ensure that all relevant evidence is gathered, analyzed, and compiled properly. By doing this, the inquiry officer can ensure a domestic inquiry is conducted fairly, impartially, and effectively. Because we are always talking about investigation, we have to see that it is conducted fairly, impartially, and effectively. So while conducting the inquiry, we have seen that the inquiry officer is important. Again, the MR's role is also important. So what are the key responsibilities of management representative? It is generally from the management side. Inquiry officer is generally neutral, or he is a lawyer, or even sometimes companies are deciding some senior officers for conducting the domestic inquiry within the organization also. But when we are going for the strict or major action, generally the inquiry officer is appointed from the outside, and basically he is an advocate. So while conducting this, MR's role is important. So what are the key responsibilities of the MR? He has to represent the management. Management is to represent the organization management team during the domestic inquiry. He has to see that the management's case is properly put up, including evidence, witnesses, support to support or defend against the allegation. He has to have cross-examination of the witnesses. Management is to make cross-examining the witness present by employee or delinquent person or union to clarify the challenge of the testimony. Provide evidence. He has to provide the management evidence, including documents, records, physical evidence, and support the management case. He has to also ensure that the rules and procedures are followed. Management able to, while conducting domestic inquiries, conducted in accordance with the organization's rules and procedure, as well as relevant laws and regulations. Like I told you, there are certain laws which are we have to follow, or there are employment standing order there, or some certified standing order is. As per either company is having certified standing order, then they have to follow the certified standing order. If it is not there, then if you are under the employment standing order, you have to follow that. Or sometimes the company's policies, rules, regulations are also there for conducting this domestic inquiry and investigations. That also we have to follow. He has to maintain the record, all the record of the inquiry, then statement, evidence, and all these things. And he has to advise the management of the outcome of the domestic inquiry, provides recommendation on any further action which may be necessary. That is also very important because he has to give advice, proper advice. I will say it is a proper advice based on the evidence and recommendations received from the inquiry. And also ensure fairness and impartiality. The management ability to ensure that the domestic inquiry is conducted fairly and impartially. Again, these words are coming again and again, but these are the basic things of the investigation process and one has to follow. Again, we have seen the responsibility as well as these qualities also. Again, it is more or less the knowledge of the organizations and rules. He has to have a relevant laws and regulations knowledge also. Good communication skill also important. Then ability to analyze evidence, because based on the analytical capability, he has to analyze the evidence and he has to draw out some of the conclusions. Impartiality and fairness, again, we have seen it is also important for MR as well as inquiry officer. Okay. We have seen now inquiry officer, we have seen MR. Now the third role is defense representatives, DR. We call it a DR. So what is the responsibility or key responsibility of the defense? Defense is generally given by the worker who has been charged sheeted or whose inquiry is going on. He has the right to give his defense representative during this inquiry procedure. So what are the responsibilities? Representing the employee, he has to represent the employee during the inquiry procedure or during the domestic inquiry and ensuring that his or her interests are protected. Then presenting employee's case, he has to present the employee's case including evidence, witnesses and defend his case against the allegations whatever have been put by the management. Then here is the right to cross-examining the witnesses of the management and to clarify the challenge and their testimony. Providing evidence, as the DR, he has to provide the evidence which will support to the employee, including documents, records, and physical evidence to support the employee's case. Because he is from employee side, so he has to see, he has to protect his interests also. Then he has to also ensure the fairness and impartiality. DR is also required to follow and ensure the domestic inquiry procedure is conducted fairly, impartially, and that employee receives a fair hearing. That is important. But the employee receives a fair hearing, it is very important, and that role DR has to play. Advising the employee. This is very important because he has to advise the employee concerned about the domestic inquiry procedure, about the legal status of the or the legal procedures of the inquiry, and he has to guide wherever necessary and what is the next step and what he has to play or what he is going to do. That is also hello. Then maintain the record, that is very important. And again, lastly, whenever the action point is coming, if he is a defense tribunal, generally is a union secretary or any union member. And if management has decided to take strict action of dismissal or discharge or termination, then he has to negotiate a settlement with the company also by taking the interest of the concerned employee. So these are the basic responsibilities of the DR. For that, he should have some qualities also. Knowledge of the employment laws and regulations is important. Then good communication skill is also again important. Advocacy skill. This is very something different. Ability to analyze also important as like inquiry officer and MR. Advocacy skill is DR should have strong advocacy skill, effectively represent an employee's interest, and impartiality and fairness is again common for the all. We are talking about this inquiry officer, then MR, then DR. We'll talk about something about the legal provisions for DR as a lawyer. Defense representative, whether it is lawyer is allowed. What are the statutory provisions? ID Act, Industrial Dispute Act 1947, Section 11 of the Act provide that the employee has the right to be represented by a representative of his choice, including lawyer in domestic inquiry. So this law, the ID Act permits him to give a lawyer as a defense representative. Code of Civil Procedures 1908, Order 3, Rule 1 of the Code provides that the party to a proceeding may appear in person or through a recognized agent, including a lawyer. There are certain case laws also. Mumbai Port Trust versus K.R. Sharma, which happened in 1975. Punjab National Bank versus P.L. Gupta 1995. In this case, they were allowed lawyer as their defense representatives. So I am giving certain legal aspects also. Or certain conditions are there for appointing a lawyer as a defense of the employee. Employee's request, if there is an employee request is there, then management to allow or management to accept it, and then the lawyer can be allowed. Management approval is important, but before taking the lawyer as a DR, then management has to see that reasonableness must ensure that the lawyer's fees are reasonable and not excessive, because which can be sustained by the employee. There are certain limitations also. Sometimes there is the internal inquiry. Right to be reviewed by a lawyer may not be applicable in the internal inquiry. I have told you that sometimes we select the senior persons as an inquiry officer. That time the lawyer is not important. Disciplinary procedure, the right to be represented by a lawyer may be limited to a disciplinary proceeding where the management may have the discretion to decide on the representation. Then now we have seen all the parts of the domestic inquiry as an inquiry officer, incident, then the role of the inquiry officer, role of the MR, role of the DR, qualities of each candidates, how to conduct the inquiries, what are the steps to be taken. So now we have to see that what is the relevance of the inquiry report. When we finish the inquiry or domestic inquiry investigation, it is very important that the inquiry report is a document which is generally received from the inquiry officer. This relevance of the inquiry officer is the record of proceeding. It basically serves as a record of the proceeding, including the evidence presented, witness statement, and the inquiry officer's finding. Basis for decision making. Based on this, management has to decide what action is to be taken, enabling them to take informed decisions regarding the decision actions or other outcome. Transparency and accountancy also is very important. The relevance of the finding of the inquiry officer, determination of guilt or innocence. This is very important for drafting. While drafting an inquiry officer's report, you have to see that his report is properly well defined and well properly articulated. Then generally the inquiry report is the basis for decision action. Based on the findings and based on the recommendations of the inquiry officer, companies decide whether to give the warning, whether to give suspend him, or whether to terminate the guy for his misconducts. Resolution of disputes, the findings of the inquiry officer can help to resolve disputes between the employee and the management, promoting harmonious work environment. Then some of the key components of the inquiry reports and findings. Summary of the allegations is always a part of the report. Evidence presented, whatever the evidence presented, that details are covered in the inquiry. Witnesses' statement are also recorded and properly covered in the inquiry, along with the questions asked and responses given to them. Next is finding of the inquiry officer. It should be a clear and concise statement of the inquiry officer's finding, including the determination of guilt or villainy. Recommendations are very important. Recommendation for decision actions or for other outcome based on the findings is generally decided at the end of the inquiry procedure. In summary, the inquiry report and finding of the inquiry officers are crucial components in the domestic inquiry process, including a record of proceeding, a basis for decision making, and transparency and accountants and accountability. These are the relevance of the inquiry report. So now we have conducted inquiry, we have received the inquiry report, we have seen the effect also. So what are the steps are there? After receiving the inquiry report, what are the steps are there to management to decide the final action? Step one is review the inquiry report. He has to carefully read the report, review the inquiry report in detail, ensuring that all facts, evidence are understood. Verifying the findings, he has to verify the findings, whether it is given properly or it is not biased, that he has to verify. Management. Then determine the distinction. Management to evaluate the severity of the offense. Severity word is very important. Severity of offense. Assess the severity of the offense, considering the factors that like the employee's intention, the impact on the organization, and the mitigating circumstances, that we have to evaluate the severity. Then considering relevant policies and procedures also, what are the policies and procedures are there and for following this law, that is also we have to decide. And finally, you have to decide on final disciplinary action after the evaluation and which action one has to take. So as I told you, there are certain punishments are available as per employee standing order. We generally give the warning is given or suspension is given. Suspension as per the employment standing order, it is from 1 day to 4 day suspension is given. Then in some cases demotion is given. And if the case is serious or severe misconduct has been committed, we generally companies go for termination or dismissal of it. Or some other disciplinary actions are there also there, but it is depend upon the company to company. If when we decide or management decide the final action, then there are steps to communicate the decision. Just to notify the employee, inform the employee about the decision by giving the show cause notice and for giving him again the last chance to justify his case. Then providing supporting documents in case required, we have to share along with him the inquiry finding report. If he is demanding for the Marathi or the local language report, we have to provide that and explain the appeal process. Yeah, employed to inform the process about the right appeal or decision, or the appeal the decision and explain the appeal process. He has to have either he approach to the senior authorities of the company or he can approach to the various legal forums like labor office or some labor code or something like that. That should be there. Then when we go through all these process and complete it, then implement the decision action. Take necessary steps, implement the decision action, ensuring that all necessary steps are taken. Monitor the employee's conduct closely. When we take the final action, when he is losing the employment or all these things, that time we have to see that his conduct, we have to see that we monitor his conduct, ensuring that they comply with the organization policies and procedures. Maintain again proper reports and review and revise the policies and procedures based on the evidence, based on the policies, based on the experience company has gathered during the process of these findings or the inquiry investigation. Management has the time to review relevant policies and procedures, ensuring that they are effective and compliant with the relevant laws and regulations. Because we are now talking about the effective investigation process. So that's why it is very important. Revise the policy and procedures so that we ensure that it should be clear, concise, and effective. The before that, before conclude, I wanted to show some of these my drafts, which I already shared. Generally, why I wanted to show this incident report and all these things, because because as a as a HR head or the HR organization, is it visible to you? Hello.
Not visible, only the PPT is visible.
Oh. Yeah.
Yes, now visible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Because we are not so IT savvy.
Not an issue, sir. We are here open to help you out.
Right.
Everyone, participant and speakers too.
So basically, I wanted to give this show this importance because whenever some misconduct or any incident happened, it is only 2-3 line statement given by the any supervisor or any particular workman, and that is not suffice our purpose of the taking any action. So like that, I have prepared one format. This is just format considering one case I have just read out. Misconduct committed by so and so through plant head. This is to inform that today I so and so I was working in so and so. Who are you? Where you are working, in which shift you are working, what was your shift timing, that is very important. Then you have to say that during the state shift, so and so person, this token number, working in so and so department and working on so and so machine, was working in which shift, that should be there. And exactly what happened, that narration should be covered in this para. And again, that what you did or what you are doing as a superior, what you have done it after receiving the report, and what was the verbatim communication or the discussion, that should come to you. And then you have to report it to your seniors, and based on this your report, because this should be your report, there should be some witnesses also. You have to sign it and witnesses have to sign it. And then this is only incident report. Now we will go to the investigation report, because when we are writing some report as a junior or as a superior or shift in charge, we have to give it to our seniors, who is suppose plant head or the line manager or something like that. Then line manager has to investigate this matter before proceeding to the for any decision action to the HR or something like that. Then he has to see that he is working in the department and today he got the incident report, and after going to the incident what he did, then he has to all mention is this. He has called these guys, he has called the supervisors, he has called the concerned person, he inquired about this, he has collected some data, he has taken some evidence, and then lastly he has to see that what is his past record and what is his behavior, how he generally behave like that. And after taking all these things, he has to decide his finding, and then considering the incident report of so and so in investigation as above, he has to recommend or initiate for disciplinary action against him. So these are very basic document, but generally we find that these basic documents are not prepared properly. Every time when we are conducting the inquiry, every time we see that these are very small document, or very not particular, not so particular, not giving all facts and data, and so like that I have prepared all these documents also. Then show cause also there is, again this also I need to again share it.
Yes, you have to that close the screen and then you have to reshare.
Oh, okay.
So otherwise you can just explain about, because it is the now
Okay,
time has been
okay.
that
Correct, correct.
you,
We'll save the time. Okay,
yes, just that explain that in 2 minutes, and then
okay,
after you can share all that in the PP in that the PDF form to us. We will circulate it to all the participants. So it would
okay,
be good to sharing something with them.
okay. Thank you.
So then after we are
So call
already
notice
around.
again. Okay. So these are basically, this is visible to you? No.
No, only your screen is visible. Now go to the particular slide. So then share the slide. First, you have to stop the sharing. So then this the present screen can go out. Then you have to reshare the presentation only.
Is it clear?
Yes, now visible.
Okay. So we have seen incident report. We have to see investigation report. The show cause notice is generally based on the incident and investigation report. One has to frame a show cause notice, and in show cause notice he has to mention all these facts, and in the show cause notice he has to follow the standing order provisions. And while issuing the show cause notice, we have to see that 48 hours are given to the employee for replying his, or for giving his written reply, or giving his explanation to the. This show cause is very important, and it should be again in local language. If he's saying generally companies documents are prepared in English, but many of the workmen they are not understanding English or Hindi or Marathi, then at that time he has to give the this show cause in local language. After receiving, sometimes what happens is this employee accept his mistakes. Is it being first time or second, or if it's a real mistake, then he accept it. Then that time management has the opportunity to forgive him or give him simple warning. Then simple warning is issued. In simple warning, it is mentioned that the company has issued the show cause notice, but based on the apology given by you, or the reassurance given by you, for not committing the same or any type of misconduct in future, management had decided to take lenient view this time, and management had decided to warn you this time. So generally, this warning letter is issued. Then stern warning, if the mistake is committed by the person again and again, same or any other type, then management has also further right to give some stern warning, so that he will, workman will ensure that he will not again repeat the same or any misconduct. That time in the stern warning, you have to mention that we are sternly warning you. That word is very important. In simple warning, it is only warning. In stern warning, you have to see that the stern warning is issued. But even after giving the simple warning and stern warning, and the workman is committing again the serious misconduct and all these things, that time management has a choice whether to issue show cause notice again, or whether to give direct charge sheet. Charge sheet again, if you are using only charge sheet, then you have to see that all charges leveled against him as per the standing orders are mentioned in that. And in that charge sheet also, one has to give 72 hours for his reply, and we have to take his acknowledgement. We have to again issue the charge sheet in local language. And after receipt of this, again his explanation within 72 hours. Sometimes the employee asks for the certain time. That time we have to see that some time is also given. And after receipt of his reply, sometimes it is favorable, sometimes he is accepting, sometimes not accepting. If he is accepting, again we have to go for the action as per model standing orders, or employee standing order, or certified standing order. But if he is not accepting, the matter is serious, then management to decide the suspension letter. Then suspension letter, we have to mention that you are suspended under pending completion, under completion of pending inquiry. Then he will be permitted as the substance allowance as per the standing order. He will be allowed to defend his case as per by following the natural law, everything. And as per format, the suspension letter is issued. And after that, So sometimes the notice of inquiry is after appointing the inquiry officer, we have to give that inquiry notice of inquiry, wherein the who is the inquiry officer, who is going to be MR, and where the inquiry completed, on what date it will complete. That all one has to mention in that. Then inquiry for proceeding report, it is the work of the inquiry officer. He has to maintain all these proceedings and the record from to time on day-to-day basis. Generally, most of the employees would have seen that he is a part of the inquiry report, and after that inquiry report, one has to report or inquiry officer has to report, and that report he has to submit to the management. After receipt of the management, again show cause notice is required to be given to the employee along with the inquiry finding and report. That again it should be in local language. And meanwhile, again we can ask him to give his explanation within 48 hours. And then meanwhile, if we have to go for the final action, then prepare a management note. In management note, we have to see that whether you accept these findings of the inquiry, whether you are concur with the findings and the report of the inquiry officer, then what is his past record. All these things we have to mention in the management note, and management has so mentioned what action he is proposing based on this past record as well as the finding of the inquiry. And then final dismissal letter, we have to issue that final dismissal letter. In that also we have to mention all these things. We have to give him final dismissal along with the dismissal or termination or discharge, along with the date and all this, and we have to see that his full and final settlement is completed within next 2 days from the dismissal order. There are certain misconduct, and I think most of the people might be knowing it. So these are the format. What I will do, I will send you the PDF file also to just save the time and so that you can share with them. I think I have tried to cover basic procedures of the effective investigation procedures, and what are the steps involved and what are the qualities and all these things. And these are the 13 actions are required. But generally, when we see that when technical people or any plant head, he said, yeah, we have given the report, these guys have given report, and you HR department is not taking action. But we have to follow these 13 procedures. It is not so simple, and it should be followed. So that is my idea was to give you the slightly the main focus on the steps involved and how the inquiry or effective investigation is prepared. Thank you. Any questions? I am open for that to answer them.
Thank you so much, Bala Sahib Sonewana for bringing the deep detail about the workplace, effective workplace investigation. How, what exactly you require to take care to bring into the effective workplace investigation. Before going for the question, as per our protocol, please open your screen just in 30 minutes. 30 seconds, not minutes, 30 seconds. So we are clicking the pictures for sharing on the LinkedIn so that everyone can connect. So please, Sonewan, can you just put down your screen sharing so that everyone can come on the screen?
Okay, I will stop sharing.
Then next we are moving to the another session. However, we have been now delayed one session. So Sanjay Sudhar, which is who is especially giving you the more detailed information and the actionable idea on the termination as well as the management, how that go together and how that are separated. There are something new around 34 years of experience into the domain of human resources he is bringing into this the IWRC, Industry and Workplace Relation that the conference today with this session. And however, we are delayed one session in 15 minutes behind. So can you put down your screen? So if there is any question, quickly ask.
Sir, may I ask
please.
you one
Yes.
question?
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to understand if in case some person is admitted his guilt in terms of integrity, major integrity aspect, whether inquiry is necessity to discharge or dismissal
Yes.
for him?
Yes, if you have to go for the discharge or the dismissal or termination, and even if he is admitting his mistakes in the first go or in the first date of the inquiry also, but as a empty formality, you have to see that all procedures of the inquiry are completed properly. You have to give 2-3 days. You have to see that your evidence is recorded or his witness is recorded, and it should be proper inquiry. And after that, we must get the inquiry report and finding from the inquiry officer. Yes, it is compulsory.
Interallied question is that, sir, if something is not held, the inquiry is not held, can we approach for the de novo when something is going on in industrial dispute court?
Pardon, please.
Can we appeal for de novo
Hmm.
when the dispute is ongoing in ID court?
When dispute will go, if we terminate the employee?
If we terminate the employee and that situation goes to a ID court,
Yes,
and
yes,
then
right.
if we appeal for de novo, whether court will provide us the de novo, as because we are having a guilty pleading for the employee, and it's a highest level of integrity aspect.
Yes.
Now, after that, if the company is sensitive about the impact of that particular integrity aspect, if we give the exercise this inquiry process, that might provide some example towards other employee as well. Now, considering that fact, if the summary dismissal happened, and if this particular matter reach to the ID court,
Yes.
can we ask for the de novo and inquiry, conduct an inquiry therein?
Sometime court also order to conduct the inquiry, again reconduct the inquiry, or court also ask the company to produce his evidence and everything before the court also. Yes. Because when the matter has already reached to the industrial court or as per ID Act, we have to follow that procedures. But in that, management has said to produce evidence or say, and based on that, based on the evidence or based on the substance, court can direct accordingly. Yes.
And my last question is that can the highest level of integrity aspect can be resist within this quantum of punishment aspect? The termination or the dismissal factor can be resist that no, this is not termination is not adequate, or dismissal cannot be adequate for this quantum of punishment aspect.
We can mention in a management code, but we have to again follow the employment standing orders. Final action is a dismissal or discharge. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
will
much,
share
everyone. Yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you so much, everyone, for the participation with the Sanivan sir. That what the impactive and actions has been shared about the domestic inquiries. Now, I would like to invite Sanjay Sudhar, who is the facilitator, who is the speaker, and having more than 35 years of experience in the domain and the different that the industries, bringing to you the strategies, actions, and throughout the 36 years of experience, the termination as well as your performance, how that go together. And furthermore, if there are something that preventing unfair dismissal and the general protection claims, how in consideration of beyond to the blue collar, going especially to the staff or employee perspective. However, the previous regulation, it is not defined in India. When we go to the new labor codes, that has been defined.